Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kaya Carrington-Russell, Australian award-winning author of contemporary romance and kick-butt heroines in dark fantasy worlds. And I have a very special guest for you today. We are talking to the creator and part of the magic behind Valentine PR and literary marketing today. We'll be discussing things like what a PR company can do for you and your books, common mistakes that authors make, and most of all, things that we can do to make ourselves a little bit bigger and better this year. We are talking to the one and only Nina Grinstead. How are you today?
I'm good, Kaya. It's so nice to see you. And thank you so much for having me. This is a true honor for me when I get to do these things. So thank you.
The honor is mine because I have now been working alongside your company for I think about 6 months now, and I've been interviewing a few of the authors that you actually represent. And I have also used Gray's promotion as well, which I was very, very much impressed with. So I am so excited to have you on and just go through what it is that you offer and what could help other authors here. But more specifically, I want to start off with you and what your background is and how you got to this point of building this incredible business.
Okay. Um, well, I am degreed in PR. So my degree is in public relations, and many moons ago when I graduated from college, and I was really always on the developmental side, like fundraising and stuff like that for nonprofits. And I was always a reader. I was not like a branch out reader because I was a very series driven reader. Like I remember back like in high school, in college, I read Danielle Steele, and I would tear the sheet of paper out of the front of the book that had all her books listed, and I would just read and I would scratch them off as I read them. And then I moved to John Grisham, and I did the exact same thing, and I just would read every single one of his books. And so I don't think I amassed a ton of different authors, but the authors that I read everything that they that they had written. But I back in 2012, it was actually in April of 2012, I picked up a book called 50 Shades of Grey, and that really truly changed my life. And it was a life-changing book for me in so many ways, as I know it has been for so many people. But I read that book and the trilogy, and I was just like, wow, this is really different than John Grisham. so I read just a little bit, and I read that, and I read it again because she didn't have anything else, so I just kept reading it again. And then I had read an article, and I joined Goodreads, and from there I my next kind of read after that was Gabriel's Inferno by Sylvain Renard, and I don't know that I'm pronouncing his name right, but and I joined a group on Goodreads, his like fans of this book group, and there I made so many friends, and it was wonderful. And that was really back then where we talked and got our book recommendations was off of Goodreads, because yes, you had Facebook. Instagram really wasn't a thing. YouTube really wasn't a thing. TikTok definitely wasn't a thing. So we really just talked books amongst ourselves. And then I was asked to join a blog in 2013. And so I started writing for that blog. I was the dark reviewer. So it's funny because my real name is Georgana, and so many people know me as Georgana, but I had to have a name for this segment for this. And I remember thinking, I can't use my real name because I can't like let all my like people in Sunday school or whatever like know what I'm reading. So I came up with Nina. My grandmother was Cuban, and she used to call me La Nina, and so I came up with Nina. It was much easier to spell and pronounce than Georgiana, so that's where that came from. But then I was the dark reviewer, so I used to read everything BDSM or kind of like just really dark. And what was dark back then is very different than what people call dark romance now. So, but and then there was several of us on this blog, and then I created with a handful of girls another blog. And when we left and created this new blog, I became very, very good friends with a woman who owned a PR firm. And so she and I became very good friends. We would talk all the time, and we would, brainstorm and stuff. And at that point, I went to work for her company. And so I was with her company for, gosh, from like the end of 2015 till 2020, when I left and created Valentine PR. So I, myself and my husband and one of my girlfriends who I'm very, very close with, I was just getting more and more people asking me, like, do you ever want to create your own company? And I never was that. I never was that, oh, I want to be a boss babe. And, I want to do, that was kind of never in my sights. I really loved the firm that I worked for. I really loved the people that I worked with, but I was just growing my clientele. She was growing her clientele, and it felt like it was like the right time for us to amicably, split apart. And so so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
One thing that I absolutely love about this industry is when you look back, say, the last decade in most people's careers, from where they started to how they unknowingly got to where they were, such as yourself starting that business in 2020, all because you read 50 Shades of Grey, and that was the start. And I love this because this is a common story amongst a lot of people I interview on here, and they think, I don't know how I got here, but then when you look at the blueprint map that got you there, it all kind of makes sense and came together. You also work for, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, is it Seymour Literary Agency? Is that correct?
The Seymour Agency, yes. So when I left my old firm that I worked for, several of my clients had said to me, Nina, I want you to kind of run everything of mine, or I pay a PA to do this, and I pay so-and-so to post for this, and I pay this. I would really love it if y'all would offer all this, and then y'all just invoice me. So I had the advantage of listening to my clients and tell me what they really wanted. So when we created Valentine PR, it was Valentine PR and literary management. So about a year after that, I guess I just didn't think I had enough on my plate. And so I I was very, very good friends with Nicole Ressinetti, who's the president of the Seymour Agency. And I went to her and I said, I have several clients who need an agent for sub rights and, stuff like that. And there's not a lot of firms that will just take you on for sub rights. And sub rights would be audio, foreign, gaming, comics, TV, film, that stuff. So I went to her and she said, well, why don't you do this? And I was like, oh, no. I can't do that. And she's like, I think you can. And I think you will be very, very successful at it. So I want you to come on board and do this. So I started off with her, and it was, she is a big firm, but she was really training me for pretty much a year. And I would wake up every morning at like 6 a.m. and work on agent stuff from like 6 to 10. And then throughout the rest of the day was all PR stuff. So now I've gotten a better handle on it, time management wise, but that's kind of how I started. And I don't have a lot of agent clients. I'm not really in the market for a lot of agent clients at the moment, but I have learned that I love that side of the business because it's a different side of the business. But I feel like what I'm learning over there also helps so much on the PR side and the industry stuff that I can talk about, and vice versa. So my clients that I represent on the agency side are also my client, or also I represent them on the PR side. So the people who we've sold to in the past, that's kind of a selling point also, because they know that the author is going to be very invested in the marketing as well. Do you want to go back and tell you that one of the cool things that I have been able to do when you talked about where you started from and where you came, I did have the privilege of being able to tell E.L. James, to tell Erica, because I do know her personally, what a difference she made, not only in my career, but in my personal life also. And I did get to have kind of a very intimate, for lack of a better term, a very, private conversation with her about how much what she did. So it's really, really interesting that you never know as an author when you're writing a book what that book is going to do. And it doesn't have to be as big as 50 Shades of Grey to change somebody's life. It really doesn't. So
I love hearing about these full circle moments. And I know for myself, for example, I've had that as a teenager. I started writing. There was authors that I looked up to. And then over the last couple of years, staggered, I've been able to meet them, but realize also as an equal at some point, mind you, they're still my idol completely, but thinking, how did I get here to be in a position where I can thank you personally for the impact that you've had and have a conversation about it. And it sounds like you had a very similar effect on that. And I feel like it's a really full circle moment in the moment where you've gone, wow, I really made it. I've come to the place where I didn't realize I wanted to be, but I'm happy to be here now. Was it very similar to you?
yes. I just didn't, I didn't ever mind being number two. I didn't ever mind being in that position. But once I left and created Valentine's, it's exactly where I needed to be, and it's exactly it. The trajectory was right, you know what I'm saying? So, and then to be able to agent some of my clients, it all is a very natural progression.
Yeah. I'm very curious then, because you sound like a woman who loves taking everything onto her plate in the best of ways. I understand this.
Yes.
Have you ever considered writing yourself, being so influenced in the area? Not an interest.
Well, what's funny was when I was in college, I did take creative writing, and I did at one point want to write a book, but that was years ago. And you could not pay me to be an author. You just that is something that I do not aspire to. I know what I'm really good at, and writing is not one of them. So, but kudos to y'all. But no, the first person who wrote a negative review, I would just be on the floor. I just would I would write one book, and then I would become a recluse and never leave again. So no,
Do we both have blankets?
We do. Yes. And I'm here in the South. I mean, it's 92 degrees outside, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, it cracks me up. Sorry. Yeah, I just saw you keep up, and I was like, oh, man. But I'm not in the South. I am heading into winter in Australia.
Yeah.
So it's cold here. Tell me a little bit about what authors can expect working with Valentine PR. What does a PR company, in a nutshell, do for authors?
Okay. So with us, we do everything but write, proof, and edit. So whatever our clients' needs are, we meet them, or we try very hard. And if we don't have that person on our staff to meet them, those needs, then we find somebody who does. We have very cultivated lists of cover designers, proofers, editors, people who make stickers, people who make bookmarks, people who do all of this, that kind of stuff, that when our clients ask for one of those needs, they do. But I like to say that when you're with us, we are at the start of the kind of conception of the book, and I work with each client very differently, because some clients don't want to talk to me all the time. I have clients who I speak to every week. I have clients that I speak to once a month. I have clients that I don't talk to until they have a release. Some people don't want to talk all the time, and then some do. But I really work on the strategy with my clients. Like, when are we going to release the book? What's the book about? What are we looking for? One of the things that I always say is we have to look down the line. We can't just be looking at this release. We have to be thinking what's coming down the line. So, like, at the end of every year, I have a meeting with our clients who obviously want it, and we do, like, we look back at the previous year and we look forward to next year. We set goals. We talk about the goals we had set in the prior year. Did we meet them? If we didn't meet them, why do we think we didn't meet them? If we exceeded, what did we do? Can we recreate that? Stuff like that. I have a team. I do have another publicist, and she has her team, but I have a team of 5 women on my team. So there's 6 of us. But all in all, we have 11 employees here at Valentine PR. And each one of those girls, now look, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not lying when I say this. I have the best women in the industry working for me. They are smart. They are intelligent. They know their job. And more importantly, they are so freaking loyal to our clients. It is immeasurable how amazing these women are. And because each one of these girls kind of does their own thing, like one girl, all she focuses on, well, Kelly, Kelly, that's who you work with. She focuses with each client, working on IGTV lives, podcasts, interviews, stuff like that. So she's hyper focused on that. So she handles that aspect of everything with our clients. And then Kim handles everything from the signups to the ARCs to Bookstagram teams, ARC teams, ordering graphics, so each person has really their own job that they do. So my clients know who to reach out to. We all work very much as a team, but each person kind of has their role in the client's career. So
I love this because it's very difficult for authors, say, who don't have such a team to support them, trying to be hyper focused because you are managing all of those things on your own. And I'm curious as to whether when you started Valentine PR, did you have all of those members straight away in the team, or is that something that you realized we're expanding, growing, I need support in this and this? How did you go with that initial delegation and growing your business?
Well, when I started, there were 5 of us. That included my husband, who he is the co-owner, and he is our businessman. He does all the billing, invoices, contracts. He handles all of that, and he's amazing at that. And I'm horrible with money, and so he is great about that. He's very consistent, so that really helps a lot as well. I knew after the first month that I needed a very strong team, because I knew that I wanted to break barriers in the industry, and I wanted to have people on my team who could say, because I have to see this whole big picture, but I wanted people who were only focused on certain things that could say, this is the new thing. Like, this is what we need to be doing. And so gradually I created our team, and we've had some people come and go. You're going to ask me at one point, probably what's one of the things you hate about this job? Firing people is the worst thing that like, that's horrible. I'm really not a great manager of people when I have to do something like that. I knew pretty quick the things that I wanted to do, I was going to have a pretty large team for. So, yeah.
I read as well that Valentine, the name actually is your daughter, which I love, and that she actually didn't come onto the family business until a little bit later, which again I love. So I do want to brief a little bit on, and not to put you on the spot, but about letting people go, because I think it is an important conversation to have, because I know a lot of authors who have struggled with this, and because they build a relationship where it becomes more of a friendship than it does a business relationship. And we are not naturally necessarily bosses. We are very, I would like to say, very empathetic. We put a lot of emotions into our book. So it's really hard for us to let go, but sometimes it's not the best decision for our business to keep a certain person in because it's just not the right marriage or it's just not serving its purpose. So what have you learned, or what advice would you have for those who are watching to unfortunately rip the band-aid off in that situation?
Well, a couple of things. One of my weaknesses as a person and as probably a business owner is I'm very trusting. So where that is a strength, it is also a weakness of mine because I will trust before you have to break my trust before, whereas my husband is you have to earn his trust. So we are very different in that aspect. And so the hardest thing is my personality is to want to be friends with everybody. I have that need to be liked syndrome or whatever it's called. So therefore I want everybody to like me. So when I have had to let go of 2 employees at different times, and it was excruciatingly painful for me. It is, I think it's very hard to look at somebody that you're letting go and know their family, know their animals, know their, everything about them. And because we kind of have that family atmosphere here, it's like you're losing a family member. So it is very difficult. The one thing that I think is one of the most important things that any author or anybody really does, especially in this industry, is before you hire somebody, you need to go and check their references. I know that there's a ton of influencers that are coming on now offering like author services and content creation and stuff like that. We don't have like a check and balances thing. So when you're hiring somebody who's new in the industry, you need to check references. You need to say, what other authors have you worked for? And you need to speak to those other authors and find out. Now, just because, what is that saying? Somebody's yuck is somebody's yum. So just because they might not have like worked out for somebody doesn't mean that that person is, I've worked with authors before and it just didn't work out, and it necessarily wasn't anybody's fault. It was, this was the way we do things. This was the way you do things. And they just didn't marry, but it is so important that you get an NDA with any of your employees. It is just so important because it protects you and it protects them as well. I think that is just super, super important. And I do think that when you start to notice that things are kind of going south in working with whoever, it's your PA or whoever, you need to start documenting things just so you can go back when you're having this meeting and saying like, well, this isn't working and this isn't working. So you have bullet points and then you're treating it more as a business than you're just telling your friends, this just isn't working. Well, why isn't it working? And the other thing is important is that it's also a teaching lesson for that person that you're letting go. Like maybe they didn't realize why they were doing all this, what wasn't working, So, but I do think that I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I can't let her go. She knows where all the skeletons are hidden. Well, let's not get to a point. Let's start off that if you have to hide any skeletons, that they can't ever talk about the skeletons. You know what I'm saying? So, but it is tough. It is tough letting somebody go. I don't ever look at people and see wrong in them early on. So it's very tough for me,
Speaking of marriage, and because I definitely find that these are very intimate relationships that you have with your author, in the sense that it has to be the perfect marriage. It has to, as you said, your values have to align, everything, the vision that you see has to align to reach what goals you're after together. So, what does your screening process look like when you are looking at potentially working with an author? What is the next steps for those who might be interested in applying with your company? What does that look like?
So, most people come through us through our our hello email, and they'll either email us through that or they'll go through our website. And on our website, it lists all of our services. Um, what we don't list on our website is our prices, and I do that because it's it's just not that's not something that I'm going to publicly mention. If I did mention our prices, we probably wouldn't have as many people emailing with us because we are expensive, and we are not, because we offer so many different services: Goodreads, audio newsletter, audio groups, audio review teams, all of these things that we do, book mail, book boxes, influencer outreach. Because we do all of these things, the first thing that I usually look at is a client's backlist, is a potential author's backlist, because it does not make sense for somebody to come on and work with me if they are a debut author, because there's nothing that I can do with them outside of that one release. And it just, because of all the things that we do, I can't really do a whole lot more, because one of the things that we really thrive on is promoting your backlist. So when y'all are writing your front list books, we are also trying to promote your backlist and doing things with your backlist and stuff like that, because your backlist needs to really be generating the majority of your money. That's what you're amassing. So that's the first thing that I look at is that. The second thing that I always do is, if I look at their backlist and they have a decent sized backlist, I go to my team and I ask them, if this is an author I've never heard of, I go to my team and I ask them, hey, has any of y'all read them? Has any of, does any of y'all know them or whatever? I will always look at their social media. If I find that they are within, if they post about drama or post about any, they're out. I simply won't work with that. I have worked with clients in the past, and that just doesn't. I'm a little bit too tenderhearted. I don't like to feel like I have to babysit people. And so the thing that is very difficult for me to do is to come to an author and say, you shouldn't post that, and that's very difficult because I'm not their mother, and where I am their publicist, I'm also a book publicist. The majority of things that we're doing are on the book, but I do want to help them with their reputation and everything. And I always say, don't say anything. Don't get into the fray, because you never know who you're going to alienate. And I've seen so many authors over the years want to die on a mountain for something, and literally they've killed their career because they chose a certain path. That your readers are split. You have readers of all races, you have readers of all socioeconomic backgrounds, you have readers of all religions, you have readers of all, political affiliations. So I'm not a publicist who is out there pushing getting into the drama and stuff like that. I just don't post about it. It's not, look, it should not ever matter about a lot of things that happen in my life, whether you pick up a client of mine's book. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the face behind those people. When you look at the red carpet and you see Brad Pitt walking down the red carpet, you don't ever see him go, and this is my publicist. You don't. So my role is not to be out there and flashy and all that kind of stuff. My role is to really, and our company's role is to really be of support to our clients. And at book signings and stuff, we are we're usually always sending people and stuff, and we are trying to get the Valentine PR name out there so that influencers or readers or whatever will know to, so but so I go to their social media and look at them, and then I set a Zoom and we kind of talk, and we talk about what they're looking for, what their goals are, and what they need help with, and what they've done in the past. Usually if somebody comes to me and says, well, I've been with every PR firm and none of them worked, I'm like, that's usually a red flag. The other thing is I do believe that sometimes people look at PR firms and think, PR and marketing firms, and think that we have the magic bean, and we don't have the magic bean. You know what I'm saying? So just because you come to work with Valentine PR or any of the other ones doesn't mean that you're going to hit the top 100 or whatever. Because at the end of the day, we can do everything for a book, Kaya. But if the book is not good, then it doesn't resonate well with readers, then, it is what it is.
There's only so much that can be done.
Right. I always say my goal is to get everybody to the product page, to one click the book, whatever platform it is, but I can't physically make that person touch that button. So I have to make everything as pretty as possible so they will touch that button.
And this is the thing, I think a lot of people may be under the impression, if they have never worked with a PR company as well, that it is going to be that magic, as you said, magic bean, like the magic cure. And in my opinion, just as an author, you still have to work hard though. Like, this is an additive to your business. This is support and a team that can assist you, but you definitely have to understand the direction that you're going in as well. That is, like, focus is one thing I really focus on here on this channel though, because I feel like we're so scattered all the time. And I think having a PR company such as Valentine's really helps. As you said, you were discussing having those goals. And I'm kind of curious as to what common, I'm not going to say mistakes or errors. I'm going to say exactly that. What are the common things that you see that some authors do that isn't serving them? Is there any one common thing that you see consistently where you're like, actually, let's change this a little because I feel like you could really do better on this?
I think that, especially, I'm going to answer this question in twofold.
Please.
New authors, the most important thing that they put their money towards is not me, it's not anybody, it's to an editor. It is to an editor and to a proofreader. I went into my group the other day. My whole staff, we have a Slack channel, and we work on Slack, and we have a channel called Book Chat. And I went in there recently and I said, hey, will somebody recommend me a book? On the weekends, I read for my pleasure, and during the week, I read my clients' books for notes and whatever. So I just wanted somebody to read this probably 5 or 6 months ago. And one of the girls was like, oh, you've got to read this book. I loved it, blah, blah, blah. I'd seen it in the top 100. So I picked it up. By the time I was at 4%, there were already 3 spelling errors, and she called the character by a different name. Now, this book was in the top 100, and I think it did well. But at 4%, I quit because I'm just like, I can't. And I almost emailed the author and just said, like, did you upload the wrong copy? Or, and so, but that is one of the biggest expenses that y'all have got to invest in, is an editor and a proofreader, your cover designer, that, because that's, we always say don't judge a book by its cover, but that's the first thing that we see, so but I believe from an author has to market themselves and their books. And the biggest thing that I'm always telling my clients is you have to be talking about your books online. You have to be talking, because if you're not talking about them, you can't expect anybody else to be talking about them. So if you're excited about a book, like, sometimes I feel like authors divulge too much information to their readers. Like, they don't need to know that. They don't like you need to be excited about your book, and you need to love your book. And if you carry those two things through on your social media and to your reader group and stuff like that, that's going to exude to your audiences, and they're going to feel that. They're going to feel the love and excitement, but if you're just like, oh, I slogged through this book, it was a pain, I don't know that it's that great, blah blah blah, like, then nobody's going to want to read it, or they're gonna start reading it and go, well, yeah, so if you're excited, they're going to be excited. So I do think your messaging needs to be really, really on point. The other most important thing that I think an author has to have is a newsletter. I think that they need to have a newsletter, and they need it to be consistent. And I think that you need to get them through the back matter in your books, put it in the front, put it in the back, write a bonus scene that they have to sign up for your newsletter, do book funnel, free things that they can do, because those are your people. Like, those people who subscribe to your newsletter are your people, because they liked you enough to sign up for your newsletter for whatever reason. I think that that's really important.
What would you say then? Because those are some great tips on social media. I was hoping that we could touch base on it, which you definitely have. So thank you for that. And I think that you're right. Newsletter is very important as well, which I think a lot of people are now hopping on board with as well, because it is, you own that platform, which I love. I'm kind of curious. So in the growth of your last decade, let's say, in your career, what has been the most surprising thing that you found within the publishing and marketing and agency industry? What has been the most surprising thing?
How quickly everything changes. Because when I got into this industry, it was all about Goodreads. And then we went to Facebook, and then we went to reader groups on Facebook, and then we went to party rooms on Facebook. And then, Instagram came about. And then we went to YouTube was around. And then we weren't bloggers anymore. We were booktubers or whatever. And then Instagram really took off. And then the pandemic hit and TikTok came around. My attorney, who represents our firm, she and I were in Dallas probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And she said, what do you think is the biggest challenge your clients face right now? And I said, it's the marketing to the different audiences, because your Facebook readers are one group, your Instagram are another group, and your TikTok is another group. The Amazon, and let's just say Amazon, if we're just talking about one platform, we'll just hone in on them. The Amazon digital KU reader doesn't mind a sexy naked chested guy. They don't mind a sexy couple, because those digital readers who are buying your book on Amazon see that, and they know immediately what they're getting. They know they're getting a romance. They know they're getting probably a sexy book. They know that immediately. Instagram wants to take pretty pictures. They want beautiful artwork. They want all of that. TikTok right now, TikTok is kind of going like this, but TikTok right now is favoring the dark, very, very kind of shock and awe type books. And like I think if you're a big small town romance reader, you're probably getting your recommendations on Instagram, where if you're a really dark romance reader, you're probably getting your stuff off of TikTok. And TikTok has I know there's so many people that like say I hate TikTok. I love TikTok and what it did for this industry. Like Colleen Hoover, you just keep selling those books and just keep the romance industry out there. Just, so it's been, I love TikTok, and as each one of these kind of social media waves have come, I've loved it. But right now, the most difficult thing is the TikTokers and Instagram, like the special edition cover, but you might want to keep a naked guy or abs for the digital cover, and because you're marketing to two different people. I remember doing a Zoom with Lauren Asher, and we had like 150 readers of hers on there, and we were talking, and she does skew to a younger 20, 18, 25 audience. And I cannot count the times that the people were commenting in the comments or saying to her, thank you for giving me a special edition cover, because I can't have a book with a man on it because it's against my religion, or I can't bring that. I live with my parents and I don't want them to know what I'm reading. And so it was very interesting to hear a totally different side of this. So but it is, I think that where you get your readers and the cycle of social media has completely changed. You go through waves with tropes. Now everybody's like, oh, I'm a mood reader. You're really a trope reader. Like one day you're in the mood for small town, the next day you're in the mood for hockey romance. So yeah.
It's so true. It's so hard to constantly pivot in this industry. And as you're talking all about this, I know I started publishing in 2014. And as a guy, I'm like, yep, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. And it's like, okay, what's next after TikTok? And you really have to go with it. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons for a lot of authors is being able to adapt, to be able to adjust. Because even if one thing is working for you now, in 2 years' time, you will most likely have to pivot. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons that we learn. What are 3 tips you have when it comes around release? Because release is such a big moment, a lot of momentum going into that, and often one of the big spikes for sales for authors. So, do you have 3 top tips regarding release day or leading up to it?
Well, one of the things I am now, these are things that I would suggest to my clients. I am a pre-order fan. I'm a fan of the pre-order because a couple of things it does. One, it gives you a call to action. So every time you talk about your book or somebody is talking about your book, there's the pre-order. And I'm convinced, and nobody can take this away from me, but I'm convinced that every time your link is clicked on Amazon, Amazon is remembers that, and that's going to help with the algorithm. So I'm a fan of the pre-order. I'm a fan of the longer pre-order. The pre-order is never going to hurt your rank, or at least I don't feel like it is. I feel like it only helps your rank. Because it's slowly generating you into the algorithms. It's all about social media in the indie publishing world. Whether it is you're sending out book boxes or you're sending out paperbacks, stuff like that. You have to do promotions. You don't have to hire a big firm like me, but there are several companies out there that are promotion only companies. We happen to own one, Grace Promotions, but there are several other companies out there that do that. And all it is doing is just getting people to post about your book and getting people to read your book. You have to have people reading your book to talk about your book. And if they're not talking about your book, they don't know about your book. So, I'm also in the mindset that, and it's very interesting because if we had this conversation a year and a half ago and you had said, what is your breakdown of clients on retailers? I would have said, I'm probably 80% wide authors, another 10% that are wide in KU, and probably 10% that are just KU only. Right now, I'm probably completely flipped. I'm probably 80% are in KU, 10% are totally wide. There has been a big shift in the market to go to being KU. And I think it's just inevitable because we live in a lifetime right now. And our lifestyle is that we are subscribers. We subscribe to Netflix, to Spotify, to whatever. And so why not subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, So, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the other platforms have, because so many people have moved off. Also with the USA Today list going away, which it could come back tomorrow, but it hasn't yet. That has made a lot of people move to KU, because they were trying to hit the list and stuff like that. So I don't even know where I was going, but with KU books, I feel like you need to be talking about your book, teasers, stuff like that leading up to it. But if you're going to do like a book box or a promotional mailing or a book mailer or whatever, my suggestion is you have that box or book or whatever you're mailing out hit on release day. So time it to where it hits on release day or after, because as soon as somebody holds up a book on their online and go, oh, look at this book that I got, blah, 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 blah. If they're in KU, they're probably not going to be pre-ordering it if it's a new to them author. So if they can go directly to KU and download it, then you've won. Like if you can get one person to do that, then then that was worth it. And hopefully they're going to read it and all of that. But the call to action is different on a KU book because they can't do anything prior to, and the people who are real KU readers are not pre-ordering books. So,
Tell us a little bit about Gray's promotion, because obviously I'm sure you would love to be able to help every author, but it's very difficult having that intimate PR marketing. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So you created Gray's promotion, which is a little bit more accessible for everyone else. I've used you guys. I loved it on my release. So can you tell everyone a little bit more about that?
When I left my previous company and created Valentine's, I was inundated with emails asking people if they could hire us, Valentine PR. And so I knew immediately I wasn't going to be taking on any new clients immediately because I had to get everything kind of started. But one of the things that we noticed really quickly was there was a hole in the market for promotions company who kind of was all encompassing. Several of the promotions company did this or this, and they charged this, and then if you added this, and then you added this. So we just said we're gonna do this everything, provide the graphics and do all of that for one fee. So the difference between a promotions company and a full service PR is that a promotions company is just going to deal with you on the book, on the release. So Gray's does not offer like strategy or anything like that. They are really there to aid in the release and the lead up, the pre-order, doing the art distribution. They do sign up, they do a teaser prior to, then they do like a bookstagram, and then and the advantage of using Gray's is that you have the influencer list that Gray's are groups are all the same people. So you're having the same influencers that Valentine PR works with that see your book also and can sign up. So and Gray's is a great place to start. Well, any of the promotions companies are, but Gray's, I'm going to be a little biased. Gray's is a great place to start, especially if you're a debut author, if you're, you're not ready for full-time PR, you can't find full-time PR yet, or we have some clients who work with other PR companies and use Gray's because they want our audience as well. So, but side note, my 29-year-old son is named Gray. So that's where that came in. So
I'm sure he probably, now that I know that, he was probably like, is the daughter the favorite, or the company after her?
Exactly. So
On that one.
yeah. Yeah.
One of the things that it is a little bit different to marketing, but in a way, marketing yourself when it comes to literary agents. So, what advice do you have when you are trying to pitch or grab the attention of a particular agent? What advice do you have?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. It is very tough. I have always kind of subscribed to it's not what you know, it's who you know. So if you have friends that have a literary agent, go to them first and just say, do you know, is your agent taking on clients? Would they be open to you giving me their email? Would you be open to me saying, hey, I'm friends with Kaya, and I've seen, so it's tough to get in with an agent. And, I know I get queried even on the website. I think it says like, I'm not taking queries, but I still get queried probably about 10 a week. And I always email them back and say, you know, I'm not open to submissions right now, but do your due diligence on them. And a great place to start is, I always tell people, because I had people messaging me like, oh, I'd like to be in the book industry. Do you know like how you would get on with like a Penguin Random House or something like that? So if you can subscribe to Publishers Weekly or Publishers Marketplace. Publishers Marketplace is probably the better. It's just a $25 a month subscription, but you can search the agents that you've seen, and the deals, and the what types of books they're looking for. Like, it very clearly says on the Seymour Agency website that I am romance only. Like, I am romance. I'm not paranormal. I'm not historical. I'm contemporary or new adult romance. And I get thrillers. I get nonfiction. I got a child's book. Like, don't waste your time sending out an email to somebody who it is very clear what they're working for. So I think that a lot of times, if you can tell them in one or two short sentences, like it's just punchy, like what this book, a good elevator pitch, like what this book is about. Nobody wants to open up an email and see a 2,000 word email about stuff. Like, you're just trying to get their attention and get your book in their hands, so but I just say, do your research and see who your friends are being represented by, and all of that kind of stuff. And if you can't find an agent but you want audio, reach out to the audio companies. I know a lot of authors who do their own audio deals because they don't have or can't get an agent. So
I have had so much fun today, and I'm so grateful that you came on. So I would love to know what's coming out and what's upcoming for Valentine PR.
Well, right now we're just trying to keep up with the market. That is really what we've been doing. I feel very, very fortunate because I feel like we were really the first PR firm that really got in with the TikTok influencers right away, and the things that we did with the book mail and stuff like that. We have amazing relationships with influencers, on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. But we're just always brainstorming. I have a meeting every Monday with the VPR staff, and we go over our clients and we talk about things and like, what are we seeing, what's working, what can we do, what's coming down the pipeline. We're just always trying to stay on our toes and find what's the next big thing is, because when TikTok came around and book talk really blew up, we were really there right away, getting some of our clients' books into those people's hands. And so we're always looking, for stuff like that. So I don't know right now what the next big thing is, but we're right now we're just trying to stay afloat with all the different marketing. Like these people need paperbacks, and these readers want digital, and so it's definitely different. So.
And I'm sure whatever is upcoming, we are going to find out together.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I have had so much fun today. Again, thank you so much for coming over. And I will pop down your website. So for anyone who wants to inquire with Valentine PR, or even go to Gray's promotion, which again, I absolutely love. So definitely highly recommend. I'll put those links down at the bottom, and even check out to see what upcoming releases there are. And for anyone who is an influencer or a bookstagrammer or whatever it may be, I know you guys always have open slots and you can apply and inquire. So check out that as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on. This was I love talking industry and all that kind of stuff. So thank you.
And likewise, I'm sure this will help a lot of people. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years, we'll see where you guys are at. Maybe we'll get you back on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.